saying lowercase. Yeah. No.
We are live. Audio is still muted, but we are live.
Okay, I think let's get going. The purpose of this press conference is really to speak about the most important issue facing Nelson Mandela Bay, and that is the Nelson Mandela Bay budget. The really sad part about Nelson Mandela Bay and the Nelson Mandela Bay budget is that the manner in which these highly regulated processes have been recklessly dealt with really is not just disrespectful to the NMB Council, but also disrespectful to our communities across Nelson Mandela Bay. And hard-working councillors from across the political spectrum have had to be blamed for the reckless manner in which this coalition government under the ANC, and that has been elected by smaller parties and kept in place by smaller parties, have dealt with this issue. And therefore, we are going to be speaking about this budget and the impact that it has and the manner in which it is being dealt with. I'm joined on my right by our spokesperson in Budget and Treasury, Councillor Werner Senekal, and on my immediate left, our mayoral candidate for Nelson Mandela Bay, former Mayor Retief Odendaal, and next to Retief on my far left, our caucus leader in the Nelson Mandela Bay Council, Councillor Rano Kaiser. And we're not going to be very, very long. We've got all of the experts on the matter here. So I'm going to immediately hand over to the spokesperson on this particular matter, Councillor Werner Senekal, and thereafter I'll go to the other speakers, and I'm happy to take any questions thereafter. Over to you, Werner.
Good morning, colleagues. Thank you for the introduction, Yusuf. I've returned from a BNT meeting that was supposed to start at 8:30 this morning, but only commenced at 9:10. That particular meeting was a routine budget and treasury meeting with routine items on the agenda. Much to my surprise, up until this point, previously in previous financial years, we used to have a joint mayoral and budget committee meeting where the committee sits with the mayoral committee of the city. I've not had one, our committee has not had a single invitation to that particular committee. And this just shows to the disorganization within the coalition that they do not have their ducks in a row as yet. Just on some technical points for the budget. Yesterday, our councillors were supposedly consulted for award-based budgets. I believe that this process was just, again, a tick box exercise as per normal, just like IDP meetings. So we do not expect much to come from those consultations that took place yesterday. And it is my understanding that possibly tomorrow when we go to council, we will only be noting the budget again. And in terms of the MFMA, if you've not tabled and approved your full budget by the end, well, on the 31st of May, you need to go back to council every 7 days. And tomorrow would be the second time that we're going back to note it. So there might possibly be another 1 or 2 meetings to put the budget to bed. Hopefully what we'll say tomorrow will be taken on board, because from anecdotal, what I've heard from our ward councillors, not much has happened yesterday. There were presentations, the necessary role plays were there, but yeah, I do not hold up hope that it was a successful process. Just a brief outline, we're sitting with a 21 billion rand proposed budget for the 25-26 financial year. 2 billion rand of that is allocated for capital, and the rest, 19 billion, 466 million. That is, 19.4 billion, that's for the operational budget. So the anticipated revenue is 19,466. So they are proposing to table a surplus budget by 5 million rand. So it's in terms of the MFMA, you need to table a surplus budget, and this is what they've done. The operating budget amounts to 19.461 billion rand. So it's a balance-based budget, so no new opportunities are being sought for new revenue, etc. So this is obviously a concern when you're only tabling a surplus of 5 million rand. Up to date for the current financial year, very disappointing, and the chronic problem that we face in Nelson Mandela Bay is capital expenditure, which is standing only at 38%, or that amounts to 752 million rand from a capital budget of 1.9 billion rand. So within the next 26 days, basically, we need to be spending the rest of that capital budget, which is, it's not possible. Unfortunately, this has also resulted all these, when you do not spend your capital grants, some of the money, they claw back. National Treasury takes back those particular funds. And in the last two financial years, that has amounted to 1 billion rand, more or less. Now, if you have to take, even by government standards, what can you build with 1 billion rand? You can build new community halls, you can build swimming pools, you can build community centres, etc. Or even just fix the pipes and fix the roads. But our inability is chronic in the city to spend money. And that's a major problem. The budget is based on a collection rate of 76% for the 25-26 financial year. The average collection rate for 24-25 amounts to 72%. We don't think this is a realistic, how can I put it, a realistic figure to base your financial budget for the next year. And my colleague Rana will speak about that a bit later. Non-revenue water losses, we're not doing enough to stop non-revenue water losses. Between 1 July 24 to 31 March 25, that number stood at 56.66%. Non-revenue electricity losses. So we are buying electricity. We usually, in the past, used to work like this. We do a markup, and that used to generate income for the city. The electricity service is now running at a loss, and by all estimations and estimations, it should be about 1.3 billion rand loss. So we are buying electricity from Eskom, we're selling it to our consumers, and we're still making a loss of 1.3 billion rand. They want to increase the tariff. Eskom is charging us 12.74%. The municipality will be charging us 12.80%, so they're increasing it by 0.6%. For a service that nobody's got a plan for. That is a money generator. We're not getting what we should from that particular directorate. I think we should be spending money on the turnaround for that particular directorate. So we're not happy about that. There's an overtime pay policy which is currently being considered, has been for the past year. For this current financial year, we overspending. Projections are that we will be overspending it by 28 million rand. We're already spending approximately 400 million rand on overtime per annum. So I do foresee that if the administration does not turn around that particular issue on the overtime, that will just bloat and bloat and bloat. Over the last few years, that has increased by 168%. Just by the way, so there's just no proper management on turning around overtime. So when you drive down Cape Road, or when you drive somewhere in Uitenhage, in Kariga, and you see public health workers doing planting plants on a Sunday. Ratepayers are paying for that. There needs to be better management. You cannot be paying people overtime on a Sunday to be planting plants. But you can be paying somebody overtime when there's a sewage spill, for instance, in your street, and the necessary artisans need to go out and attend to that. A new low has been reached in April 25, the cost coverage ratio. That's basically the amount of money the municipality has in its bank account, reached 2.78 months in April. That's been the lowest in the past 8 years. It's never been so low. The last time it was so low was in 2016, 2017. So that is possibly indicative of a bit of a cash crisis in spite of what our reserves are. When it comes to the ward-based budgets, like I said, consultations took place yesterday. Not much will happen from these consultations. It's crucial that I just point out, provincial chair as well, and wards 8, 12, 39 and 51. These are all DA wards. These are the only wards out of 60 that did not receive any funding on the ward-based budgets. Each and every other ward in this city, the other 56 wards received allocations. Either they're going to get a new pavement, a sidewalk, or speed bump, or they're going to get this or that. These DA wards, I don't know why, but they've been singled out. They are not getting a single cent from the ward-based budget as it currently stands, other than the ward of the humanitarian aid fund, which is 100,000 rand per ward. Then I just want to make a few examples, so I'm nearly done. In March, we spent 5 million rand on the Langa Memorial in the adjustments budget. All right, that's just prior to the Deputy President, Minister Mackenzie, arriving for Human Rights Day. On the budget for next year is another 10 million. Now, that's 15 million rand over a period of 2 years. Now, the question we have is that the only memorial site in the city? There are many other places that we can also be upgrading. We just find it unfair that all of the money is going to the Langa Memorial. Then in Ward 5, this is also a problem. The main library, for the past 3 or 4 years, every year, without fail, 19 million rand has been budgeted for phase 2 or phase 3 of that particular project. Nothing has happened. Nothing has happened. 19 million rand simply rolls over to the next year. But then you're sitting with 4 wards that are not getting a single cent from the budget. I think this is unfair. It is our view that it's grossly unfair. Although Ward 5 is a DA ward, but spread the love, spread the money. Let's all move forward. Then in the Galvindale Stadium, the caretaker's cottage is being upgraded at 1.5 million rand. Good and well. And for the next financial year, 26-27, we're spending another 2 million rand on a caretaker's cottage. Yet, we could have been developing parks, we could have been upgrading something else, but be that as it may, that's how the allocations are done. I don't think the ward council of that particular ward said, listen, we need to upgrade the caretaker's cottage or the Galvindale estate. But anyway, then this one here, the Chatty Library. I don't know if you know, but the Chatty Library is basically an empty shell. And 3.5 million rand has been allocated to rehabilitate and upgrade the Chatty Library. 3.5. Now, I know, I think the Chief might know, or Arno might know, and Yusuf, you might also know, it does not cost 3.5 million rand to build a library. That's at least a good 8 to 12 million rand exercise. Nothing is budgeted for the next year. So we are concerned that that money is just being placed there just to chill, and it's just going to roll over. We're not spending our money on projects that the community actually wants. There's no alignment almost between the IDP and our ward-based budgets. And if you look at the depot service in Uitenhage, Kariga, and Woven areas, even Dubai Township, you'll see that there's hardly any equipment, there's no vehicles. We want to see money going there so people can actually get service delivered for the rands that we are paying monthly to contribute to services. And unfortunately, this municipality is dismally failed, and the message needs to be clear that it's not the ward councils that have to fix lights, to fix potholes. That's an administrative responsibility. We're taking a lot of flack for a coalition that is unfortunately not up to the task. And with those few words, I would like to do my contribution.
Thank you very much, Werner. I mean, there's a wealth of information that has been shared. Budgets are not always the sexiest thing, but it affects all of our lives. I know I've got a particular bias, Werner, being in the northern areas. And one of the things that we have pointed out is that not a single swimming pool in the northern areas has been budgeted for an upgrade under this government. And I know for a fact that we had managed to get the Shorterville pool onto the IDP and many other of the upgrades onto the IDP, and it just disappears year after year. And there's a dishonest narrative that's been pushed for political expediency that the level of deterioration in our areas is because of the ward councillors. And not only is this a dishonest and dangerous narrative, it allows the current coalition, who is recklessly dealing with the budget in the way that it is, to get away with putting our communities in this situation. And it's important that all of our residents that are viewing online are able to do their civic responsibility in keeping themselves informed with what exactly this government is up to. And thank you, Werner, for your excellent work being done to break it down in an understandable fashion. And I'm now going to hand over to our caucus leader in Nelson Mandela Bay, who many of you would have seen in the clips coming out of council from last week, speaking very passionately about the manner in which this process has been mishandled. Councillor Rano Kaiser, over to you.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. I think what Werner, it is clear what Werner presented to you is a very short story when they heading the collapse of NDM. Why I'm saying so, before I go into the budget, I want to make one point. In Kariga, we had a flood, 1st of June. An amount of more than 140 million was granted for repairs and maintenance that relates to issues on Nabi. As I'm speaking to you now, the 8 projects that was approved under the 53 million, no letters of appointment was issued to any contractor to start the repairs in the Kariga area, which include Ward 48, Ward 45, Ward 50, and so forth. We are talking from the canal right through to Kwanibusle. Areas like Rosedale, areas like Aba, the Ron, and so forth, that was supposed to benefit from this money. We have 2 contractors on the bridge now performing construction work there on the bridge. But currently, as we are speaking, there is a fight between supply chain management and the office of the municipality in terms of the lawfulness of the appointments there. What does it mean? It means that the municipality and the residents of Kariga face the possible loss of that money if it's not spent by the end of this financial year. It means the administration is collapsing and the people of Kariga will continue to suffer. If there's a flood coming now, or if there's heavy rain, and that water goes to the canal, the Cape Canal, you will have a disaster there. Because money was provided or money was given by the National Department to repair the canal. Nothing has been done. So that in itself demonstrates the collapse of this administration. Now, let me go to the state of the municipality. I realize that we are a better agency than Hollywood because we have more actors here. You have an acting municipal manager, you have acting EDs. Every line function or every middle management position are occupied by actors, and they are acting. This is the second municipal manager from Biso, sent under 154, supposed to come and create administrative stability, but we don't see it. And if you don't have administrative stability within the institution, you have a collapse of service delivery to our residents. Now, what do we need to do? Because investors are running away. Volkswagen threatened to say, if we are not going to deal with certain aspects of our infrastructure, they won't have any option but to withdraw their investment within the city. And what will be the unintended consequence is an increase in unemployment that will ultimately lead into an increase in crime and many other social evils that comes along. Why? Because we don't have political and administrative stability. You have a political leadership that sits round table and deals the budget as if they are dealing Marie biscuits to either one for you, one for me, one for you, without any interest of the people. And that is a crisis. You have a municipal manager that sits at home earning more than 2 million rand a year, and the administration failed to conclude the disciplinary process. If she's guilty, she must take it. But if we have failed the process, we need to stabilize the administration because it impacts on our annual application for what? Rollover funding and also grant funding. So it means therefore, without political and administrative stability, we don't have an institution, we have it by name, and then it ends. But let me go into the budget quickly. In 2024-2025, we projected an 80% revenue, 80.5% revenue collection, right? In the mid-month, we reduced it to 75.8, I think, percent. Why? Because of under collection. Now, we are tabling. Yana spoke about whether this budget is realistic. Now, if you go to the projections in the budget, they are saying for the 2025-2026, our projections on the capital expenditure. Now, the capital expenditure deals with certain issues. They said 2.9 billion, 2.1 billion, right? Now, if you go to the outer years, it says 1.6 billion. 1.62 billion. If you go to the outer year 27, 28, it then says 1.6 billion. But in that budget, we say let's increase the service charges of the residents. You then add the residents to pay more, but you budget to spend more on service delivery to the very same people that you ask to pay more. Because, let me take for example, we are asking them for 12.8% electricity increase, right? But we are saying what we are going to give back to you is less what you invest into us. Is that good? There's no sense. Now, if you go and look at the cash flow of the municipality, there's a decline. Meaning, therefore, our cash reserves, we are starting to take in, or we are starting to dip into our reserves. Because even the National Treasury in their assessment acknowledged that we don't have any strategy nor plans to generate more funding for this institution. That demonstrates again the collapse of administrative, or the lack and the collapse of the administration. Now, if you go further, you go and take, we are now at a revenue collection of, we are projecting a revenue collection of 76%. We reduce our projection, but we increase our expenditure. There's no sense. But on your budgeting payment, you already projected that you are going to, you are not going to collect 2.7 billion. You have a low budget project, revenue collection projection. But in the same breath, you are saying, out of that 76%, we might not collect 2.7 billion. What service then are you going to render to the people if you ask them for increase, but you decrease your budget to service them? And I don't want to actually take time, but here is the punchline. Your USDG fund. Your USDG fund is a fund that is supposed to assist municipalities in terms of your water and sanitation infrastructure. It's mahala, it's free if you do your things right. I'm talking about the lack and the collapse of Nelson Mandela Bay. In the budget, we acknowledge, listen to the masterpiece. The application was submitted to me on the 31st of July. Roadmap was supposed to be submitted on the 30th of September. And all other applications to what? To assist us as a municipality and the residents in rebuilding and maintaining our water and our sanitation infrastructure. Let me give you the masterpiece. They are saying, unfortunately, we failed to submit the application and the documents on time. Meaning, therefore, the municipality lose out of the USD incentive grant. That never happened under a DA-led administration. In fact, when the chief was mayor, the National Treasury gave us more money to spend because we gave value 100 cents in every rand to our residents. 100 cents for every rand. And as a result, you will see in terms of our rand funding, we did exceptionally well, spending over 100%. Now, if you are bold to say we failed to apply. You are bold to say that I am collapsing. You are bold to say that I don't have the ability to service you. You are bold to say that I'm a failure. You write it boldly to say we have failed to submit. It's not failed to submit. You are saying we failed to get you your money as residents to service and maintain and repair your infrastructure. And you know what will be the end of it? We have to find money internally to fund these projects. What does it mean, Retief? Somewhere we have to increase some areas to fund. Yeah. And lastly, because I don't want to give you my input now, Anissa, but I'm raising this politically. Here we deal with the budget. In the adjustment budget, the DA raised their concerns on the balanced budget. If you have listened to what Werner have said, this budget is a balance, it is break even. All right. We were made laughing stocks when we said this budget is not actually a break even budget, but it is a deficit budget. Yeah? I'm going to explain in the council, but I'm moving towards a point. If you look to the National Treasury assessment of the budget, they're raising 4 things: financial health, service delivery, financial governance, and I think it is institutional, right? Arrangement. Listen here, I'm presenting you the collapse of the municipality. Institutional arrangement decline. I'm coming back to financial. Financial governance decline. Service delivery decline. It's a collapse. Now, when you go to the finance, yes, National Treasury says it might be a funded budget to the amount of 5 million, right? But if you look in the comments, it basically says in their conclusion, I am not going to deal in terms of everything. I just want to read it for you. It says the budget of the city is funded. However, certain assumptions are not credible due to understated operating expenditure estimates. And this is where we comes in on the budget impairments. So what I am saying, the budget that I'm presenting, the budget that the city is presenting is not something to be proud of. They are saying to the residents, pay more and we will give you less. They are saying to the residents, we have failed you boldly with a cold face. Boldly, we have failed you and we are continuing to fail you. National Treasury confirmed. So it is clear that we have a collapse institutionally in terms of administrative leadership, and we have a collapse in terms of political leadership. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Kaiser. I think it's becoming clearer and clearer that the Democratic Alliance caucus in Nelson Mandela Bay is fighting tooth and nail for all of our communities across Nelson Mandela Bay. I suppose the question that really needs to be asked is what exactly are these smaller parties that have installed this current government in place? What exactly are they doing to service the needs of the communities that put them into council? Because every councillor should be accountable to their community in terms of the work that they are doing, given the crisis facing all of us in Nelson Mandela Bay, and how urgent that need is for us to get Nelson Mandela Bay working again. And Retief, I'm now going to hand over to you to expand on that, because the last time we had financial stability in Nelson Mandela Bay was under your mayoralty, and when you also had, you were the political head for budget and treasury in the city. And this collapse in financial governance and in the manner in which the budget is being put together for our city has serious implications for the city as a whole. Over to you.
Thank you, Yusuf. And I know budgets and politicians can be quite boring to people, so I'll try and keep it as brief as possible. But I am passionate about it, so if I carry on for too long, Yusuf, just give me a kick under the table. So I want to start off by saying that, I have always, over the last couple of years, since being in council after the cash crisis, in 2010 we had a cash crisis, and it was painful to witness how some very painful financial decisions had to be taken, which had an impact on service delivery after the 2010 FIFA World Cup. At that time, there was irresponsible spending, and it basically eradicated all of our cash reserves. Now, what we are seeing here is the possibility, the real possibility, that we will be entering a new phase of a cash crisis because of our inability to manage our financial finances within the institution. And there's two specific areas that I want to touch on. First of all, the electricity department, which Werner has explained that we've got a massive problem, but I don't think that residents realize just how bad it actually is. If we fail to turn around the electricity department within, I would say, the next 2 years, this city will certainly be in financial turmoil within at least 3 financial years. And this is now a city that 2 years ago was considered the only financial sustainable metro outside of the city of Cape Town. What has happened? Since then, we've allowed non-technical electricity losses, in other words, electricity theft, to just spiral out of control. There are 120,000 households, formal households, thus 1 in every 3 houses that have tampered with the electricity meter. 1 in every 3 formal households are stealing electricity from this municipality. If you manage only to get 10,000 of those households paying again at 1,000 Rand a month, that's 120 million Rand revenue right there. Last year, this municipality ran a loss of the electricity department at 1.3 billion Rand. Do you know how to bankrupt the city? Run an electricity department at a loss of 1.3 billion Rand, and it will be more this year. This year, we have already paid nearly 600 million Rand more for the electricity that we purchased, the bulk purchases, than what we received from our customers that were buying electricity from us. We're not even getting enough to pay our Eskom. There are so many metro municipalities that owe Eskom billions of rands. Even in the worst of the cash crisis in 2010, we could pay Eskom. We didn't have any arrears. I predict that within the next couple of months, if not within the next 6 months, we will start defaulting on our current account for Eskom because the city cannot afford it anymore. If you look at that 2.78 month cost coverage, it is the lowest it's been since the financial year 2015-2016. So it's the lowest in nearly a decade. And what do we have to show for it? In 2010, when we went into this cash crisis, at least there were infrastructure to show for it. There are none now. Our infrastructure lie in tatters. We've not used our money for what it was meant for, and we haven't protected the interest of our residents. So the reality is that we have to turn the electricity department around very quickly, or at least make strides in order to move it forward. Otherwise, we are going to have serious financial difficulties within the foreseeable future. It's not rocket science. People that can afford to pay the municipality must be made to pay. People that can't afford to pay, They are an indigent program in terms of which they are can be assisted, and that is funded by national government through the equity share that we get on a yearly basis. But the municipality is not prepared to take the difficult decisions. So that's the biggest, one of the biggest issues that we are faced with. The second issue is the mismanagement of our grant fund. Werner highlighted, Werner, and it's 580 million rand last year. And this year, just now, 309 million rand was taken back. So it's nearly 900 million. Now, at a 5.5% increase on a 3.1 billion rand rates bill, because that's the entire rates bill for the city proposed for the year, it would have been 170 million rand increase. 170 million rand increase that we're asking ratepayers, that the municipality is asking ratepayers to pay more this year. Why don't they just spend that money? Or just spend half more? Then they wouldn't have had to ask a single percentage point more from residents. If you take the 900 million rand that was then lost over the last 2 years, that is more than any other municipality. I think it's even more than the collective metro municipalities lost over the last couple in the financial year. And that money then is taken from Nelson Mandela Bay, which is one of the poorest metropolitan municipalities, and taken to those that can spend. So it's totally absurd, and it shouldn't be allowed, and it is very easy to remedy. It is no rocket science. Manage your projects, fix supply chain, get support from National Treasury. But as Brano said, appoint the senior managers that should be managing their departments. How is it possible that for the last 2 years, there's been five vacancies in top management within the city? How is it possible that a city manager that receives 250,000 rand a month is sitting at home and nobody does or say anything about it except the opposition? And this is where the tire hits the top. Not all is doom and gloom. This city still has the lowest long-term debt on its book, which gives us the ability to invest in infrastructure and obtain loan funding to do so, if you have competent administrators and engineers to actually proceed with those projects. However, if we do not address the two biggest issues that's facing us financially at the moment, the electricity department, the collapse of the electricity department, and the management of our grant funding, there's going to be no ability to do that over the next couple of years. So I think I just want to stop there, Yusuf, by saying that we have shown in the past through prudent financial management that this municipality can be sustainable. We've proved it. We've got AAA ratings from rating agencies because we took the tough decisions. We made sure that people that can afford to pay us paid us, and we made sure that we spend our grant funding. And I've been the MMC for Finance in the city for at least 4 financial years. And what we are seeing at the moment is, through the mismanagement and don't care attitude of the political administration, a collapse of our finances, which is going to cost the city dearly. We don't fix it now, ladies and gentlemen. Don't take the difficult decisions now and fix our finances. There's going to be a lot of pain, a lot of service delivery pain over the next couple of years. And what has happened in Joburg, in Ekurhuleni, and many other metro municipalities is going to happen here. And that would be very, very sad. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Retief. I think it's become clearer to all of those who are tuning in why this issue is as important as it is. I know, Retief, I've received an outcry in our community about the proposed 12%, over 12% increase in electricity. Our residents cannot afford it. It has now put many of our residents into severe debt. And it is a really uncaring situation for our people that is self-made by the government of the day. So let me just ask, Andisa, are there any questions for anyone on the panel? Or is it, has that been responded to?
No, everything's clear, but I mean, with everything that was put out, what now? All the problems, all the issues that the DS have, what now, what can happen, what can you guys do to change the activities in the budget? And also, as to the other now mentioned, about 4 wards are connected to the what's going to happen? Sometimes we raise the council.
Okay, so I mean, I think this is a very good question because we do have our caucus leadership who are exercised on this at the moment. I also want to just point out that it's not only the 4 wards that we are concerned about. Obviously, if there are 4 wards that are not getting any capital budgets, that's a huge red flag to begin with. But it is also the inequitability of the capital budget allocations. Okay, and this is a very important political point to make. The DA believes that there must be equitable allocations in order to ensure development across communities in Nelson Mandela Bay. There are parties, for example, that have taken votes from communities in the northern areas in Nkareja, who have put the ANC government coalition into place and who are keeping that government in place, and yet those wards are getting an unfair budget allocation, and there are many indigent residents in those wards that are bearing the brunt of that allocation. So I just want us, I'm sure it will be outlined in the communications that will go out. There are many other wards as well that are not getting the allocations that they deserve. And there's really a selling out taking place to only try and funnel money into certain parts of the city, whereas the residents who voted for certain parties to represent them aren't actually representing them. It's a very important question that needs to be asked to those parties as to why is it that they have been co-opted into this, what I believe a huge injustice that has taken place. But in terms of what now and what needs to happen, I'm going to hand over to our caucus leader, Ronald Placer, just to expand further on that.
Yeah, look, ma'am, I am on record to say that we are not in opposition for the sake of being in opposition. We are in opposition, but we are in very constructive opposition that always put the interests of our people first. You will understand, last week Thursday, we fought SDA for more consultation to happen. Not only amongst not only to water councils, but also to the political leadership. And I'm sure that between now and the finalization of the budget, we might seek an audience with the, no, we are seeking an audience with the executive mayor, because we feel some of the issues couldn't be dealt with better. And if you allow me, Herman, let me just point out 1 or 2. If you go to the ward-based budget, they say the Lily and Diedrich cluster might get a bigger chunk, right? Which is your predominant, or your, what you refer to the northern areas. But if you unpack that budget, not actually true. It is one ward, Ward 29, which is an ANC ward.
Yeah.
That gets an amount that is proposed 65 million, 2025, 2026, 52 million, 2026, 2027, and then you go on. I'm saying you should not look at it in a helicopter view, but you must unpack it. Then you have a ward in the very same cluster, for argument's sake, Ward, Ward 32, which is Helen Vale. Helen Vale only received for this financial year 2.2 million. But in the next 2 outer financial year, they receive nothing except the ward councillors discretionary fund. So if you unpack it, the real state of the budget. Now, what we are saying, as raised by Bernard, looking at the current lack of service delivery and the collapse of the municipality, and in the absence of development, necessitates a fair and equal consideration when it comes to ward-based budgets. That in itself. That's why we fought for a consultation between ward councillors to have an opportunity to represent their communities there. Secondly is that what we are saying SDA, NERSA's guidelines talks about 12.74. We have in here 12.80. Why do we want to put a 0.6% extra burden to our residents? Are these increases necessary at this particular moment? How will it assist our residents, taking into consideration our own failures to secure funding and necessary, I mean, from your NDOT, from your NT and so forth. So what we are going to do as DA, we are going to consult more with the political leadership to represent our residents out there and make these proposals that I have identified. Because our ward-based budget, if you're looking at a helicopter view, Lillian Dietrich will get the perhaps about, but if you look at Lillian Dietrich itself, it is one ANC ward that is getting the money. So I think those are the interactions that we will have as a leadership.
Okay. Any follow-ups?
Can I just say 30 seconds? In terms of electricity department, if they fail to table some kind of proper turnaround plan, we're going to be forced to go to NERSA. And I've had some engagements with some business people in the city already regarding some of the failures of the municipality. We're going to point it out, and NERSA is going to have to step in, and you know their license might be at risk if the municipality doesn't stop this reckless trading and not prioritize the fixing of the entity. And then secondly, in terms of the underspending of grant funding, that can't continue. What Rano mentioned, the new grant funding that's coming through to assist our metro municipalities in making their trade services profitable again. And this, I think you wrote something about that, or was it one of your colleagues? Can't remember. But the reality is, if we lose that grant fund, we've got no ability to invest in those departments to try and make them profitable like other municipalities are going to have the opportunity, all just through negligence. And I think that from National Treasury side, they need to send a delegation to come and prop up our Treasury services here in Nelsonville Bay. Remember that there's been a lot of senior officials that has retired out of Budget and Treasury over the last couple of years. We saw Mr. Salvat Tace, who departed last year and is now the CFO of the Moss Bay municipality. So we've lost good skills, and I fear that we won't be able to replace it very quickly. So on that score, we're going to get National Treasury to see in what role they can play to try and support this municipality. So we just don't use this money. We're bleeding, and we can spend that money in our city and grow our economy as a result as well. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Any follow-ups? Okay. Let me just then close by saying that we are going to be further boosting this into our community, because it's important that there is a civic movement around this. We know, for example, Rano has mentioned Hillendale, and we know the infrastructure challenges around here, Hillendale, which if not fixed has a dire effect on our communities. And it's important for residents to also hold accountable other councillors in council as to what are they going to do to ensure that the budget in this form is not passed to the detriment of our residents, because it's not only the DA councillors in council, we are the only ones that's really fighting these issues on behalf of our communities, but there must be accountability across the board, and we're now going to close this press conference.
So are you saying that the DA will not support this budget tomorrow?
We are not saying that, we are saying there's still engagement going.
Because there hasn't been a final. Yeah, okay.
Sorry about that long press conference. I can see she was crying, thinking, why did I just not stay in my office and do the online link?